Get ready with me while we discuss the fall of capitalism. So you guys know that like when we talk about late capitalism, that means that there's like a thing that happens after capitalism. Like capitalism then ends because that's what we're in the late phase of, right? And that's the hilarious thing about linearity and the patriarchal colonial obsession with linearity, right? Like when you have a hierarchy, you have a straight line, you have a direction to go in that is objectively the correct direction that everyone can agree on, which of course requires you to step over people along the way, but you know, that's just the cost of doing business, right? And it's kind of funny, like the masculine obsession with linearity has been a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like when you design a ton of linear systems, they have this inevitable conclusion to them, right? Like there's a narrative and an arc that results in inevitably destruction or replacement or some other kind of cataclysmic event that is an ending. You know what I mean? And this is the funniest thing about, you know, that book, The Innovator's Dilemma. It's like, you know, like the quintessential Harvard MBA canon, if you're going for groupthink. And, you know, the innovator's dilemma is really straightforward. It's like, yeah, every company arrives at this place where it is so big that it loses its tolerance for risk, and all of its maneuvers then become about avoiding risk rather than taking risks to evolve, to innovate, which is just kind of hilarious. Like, why are we sitting here complaining about the fact that that we stagnate when the whole system is designed to get to this place where we reach the top, which is the end of the line, and then there's no support system whatsoever for actual change. And my favorite part of the innovator's dilemma is that it just kind of leaves it there. It's like, yup. And then we lose our tolerance for risk, and then the company fails because it fails to like adapt to the times. That's the dilemma. No like proposed solution to the dilemma, by the way. And so we're seeing this happen at tech companies right now. You're even seeing this hilarious situation unfold where they're even starting to act and operate like old school banks. There was this crazy story that I heard the other day from one of my insiders at Meta. Last time they did like a 600 person layoff at Meta, they gave everyone who got the layoff notice the opportunity to 2 weeks, by the way, 2 weeks to run around and scramble for another role inside the broader Meta organization, like in a different department or whatever. So it became like the Hunger Games to avoid actually getting laid off 2 weeks later, with like everyone throwing each other under the bus and da-da-da-da. And apparently they've been doing this at like banking, financial institutions forever. Totally like common MO there, shocker. But yeah, that's where we're at in tech right now. Like it's it's sweet, really. Like, we really fell for the whole family thing, didn't we? And this idea that, like, a full-time job is more secure, like, come the fuck on. Okay, I digress. So anyway, there's no, like, system for grieving grieving who we're leaving behind and the person that we used to be, the company that we used to be, the product that we used to sell, the thing that used to work that doesn't work anymore. Like, that's a whole grieving process. It's an enormously emotional set of circumstances to navigate, and we have absolutely no support structure or framework to do that. We don't have a support structure to do that anywhere in our culture, but certainly not in tech environments where, like, literally, like, I don't know, 6 months ago we just admitted that like emotions might be an important part of collaboration. You know what I mean? But here's the cool thing. So, you know, women, or people socialized, conditioned as women, have been doing this invisible labor around creating unspoken or invisible frameworks for things like grief, supporting systems and communities and civilization through change since the beginning of time. So people socialized as women have this actual innate adaptive system already ingrained in their DNA to help usher society through this great transformation. I mean, it's no surprise that like we're the ones charged with childbirth, which is like the most literal metaphor of this whole situation, right? And what's one thing that women, or people with uteruses at any rate, are like really accustomed to? Say it with me. Cycles! That's right. The very natural ebb and flow of our actual reality, right? We see this in our bodies and we are forced to pay attention to it, right? Especially in a society that does its absolute best to dissociate us from our bodies. Women get this absolutely undeniable reminder, or a lot of us do anyway, every month of our cyclical nature. And so in a cultural moment where we're at the end of the theoretical line, we've like reached the logical conclusion of what capitalism has to offer us. We're even going so far as to call it colloquially late capitalism. And masculine leadership is basically throwing up their hands and being like, well, that's the innovator's dilemma for you. Never send a man to do a woman's job, am I right? So it's really not a huge stretch to draw the conclusion that the people best suited to lead us and guide us through this particular cultural moment are people socialized as women, people with what we'll call feminized leadership skills, okay? And, this is can be casually sometimes referred to as the invisible labor or the emotional labor that women or people in feminized roles are doing all day, every day in our corporate environments, as well as our domestic sphere. And considering that the actual means of production for information work is the human body. Your brain is part of your body, by the way. And given that we also, women, by the way, people with uteruses, have the power to produce the next generation of the means of production, it's not a surprise that men are absolutely fucking terrified right now. Not only are we the ones who exclusively have the leadership skills to navigate us through this period of transition, while the men in Harvard MBAs are just out of ideas, data also shows that we're consistently the most competent members of any workforce and in the active process of creating the next generation of the workforce. It's looking good. I feel like I need more eyeliner. So let's get really specific about the skills I'm referring to when I talk about feminized skills, especially in the workplace, especially when you're starting your own business. Probably the absolute most important one is a result of the hypervigilance that we've been forced to cultivate as a survival strategy since, the beginning of time, basically. When we say that we're super empathetic or super in tune with our environment or whatever, we're actually engaging what many therapists would call a trauma response. It is hypervigilance that we likely developed in our home lives or intergenerationally after, generations of people taking advantage of our body and us needing to be in really tight communications loops that are below the line of our conscious cognition so that we can react a lot faster if danger should appear. And here's the amazing thing. What this basically means is that people socialized as women can low-key read minds. When we walk into a room, if you pay attention, you can absolutely clock every person's true motivation, even or especially when it doesn't line up with what they're doing or saying in the moment. And you won't be able to unsee this, by the way. One of the things I love most about this skill is recognizing that because we've been socialized to take on so much emotional burden that doesn't belong to us, we'll walk into a room, detect the wave of anxiety that exists there, and mistake it for our own anxiety rather than the anxiety of the people who were there when you walked in. What you'll notice in your next one-on-one with your boss is that they are absolutely more afraid of you than you are of them. And let's be honest, they should be. So all this goes to say, it has never been a more powerful or profitable time to have really well-developed, feminized skill sets. Never been more profitable. Especially as AI takes over a lot of the more technical and logical skills. Our ability to do what, some call read the room is going to become the most sought after and highly paid skill set. So not only can you make a ton of money during this phase of the revolution, we can also birth the civilization that we were meant to be guiding all along.